Hello, good morning. I'm doing a quick vlog just because I want to show you something that I've been working on this weekend. I've been making these color wheels, these triads, and all but one triad exists of always a yellow, a red, and a blue. I try to look for transparent colors. And I also try to look for non-granulating colors, although I've had to use that a couple of times. And I've tried to look for single pigments, and I've tried to make a wheel, a cool wheel and a warm wheel, but that too proved to be quite a challenge in the sets that I had every now and then. So I started out, I have this wonderful 100 tube set by Sennelier L'Aquarelle, which is very fantastic. My previous experiences with Sennelier were based on pans, and I always found that they were not very intense, that they were really good for layering, for glazing techniques, but that they were not as intense. My work, my illustrative work, is usually quite intense in color, so I quite prefer more intensity. So I thought that I was gonna have two sets, the Schminky Horadam and the Sennelier, as my go-to sets. However, and this is why it is very interesting to test, and I could, because I have the whole collection of colors. This Sennelier paint proves to be really intense. Just look at this. I mean, maybe I didn't even overuse it. I used as much paint as I did with the other brands, and I'm especially thrown away by this wonderful, the warm colors that you see on the bottom. So I really, really love it. This is Yellow Sophie, and that is a Sennelier color, and I think it's a fantastic color. It is sort of a yellow that's in between cool and warm, and that's makes really beautiful color combo here on the bottom end. It is always my preference to work with with the warm colors. I don't really abide by the rules of paintings having to exist out of a combination of cool and warm colors to create a balance. I'm sort of like a warm summer's day in my work. I try to make it warm, warm, warm. So, but I think when it comes to art, there are no rules. I mean, the end result has got to appeal to you or not. And so what if not? Okay, so then there is more Sennelier, and because I liked the bottom one, the warm color one, with the phthalo blue, the rose madder lake, and the yellow Sophie, I thought I was going to experiment a little more with the warm colors, because I love Indian yellow, and I wanted the quinacridone red, and I tried the Prussian blue, because that is also a color I always use. And what I found out is that the Indian yellow consists of two pigments there, and well, you know, so far in making this triad, it was no problem. I would have to look if it becomes a problem in making in going further in making tertiary colors. I made a mix here with the Indian yellow and the quinacridone rose, and I also did one with the Indian yellow, the rose madder lake, and phthalo blue, because you can see that the Prussian blue tones down the colors quite a bit, which I think is a great idea, because sometimes that's what you want, and the phthalo blue keeps the colors a little more vivid and alive. But this is, you know, what I would like to do next is Indian yellow, quinacridone, and phthalo. And that's how you can keep going. You can do this forever. It is really much fun to do in itself. You don't even really have to think of art to make. If you're ever bored and you want to paint, but you don't know what, just start doing triads, because you can learn a lot from that. Then I moved on to my Schminky Horadam. I have a basic set with 12 colors and quite a few additional colors, but those are all secondaries and tertiaries, so I thought I was going to use the basic set alone, because I feel that in the creation of a basic set of colors, you know, a manufacturer should always keep in mind that these colors have to be very well mixable. And what I didn't like is that I discovered that the lemon yellow and the cadmium yellow were not fully transparent. Cadmium is never really fully transparent, but the lemon yellow is also not transparent, and that sort of dulls the colors a little bit. And I like really bright, shiny, and vivid colors. So for me, this I always said Schminky is my go-to brand, but after doing this, I'm like, because there is another thing that I don't like. That is this Prussian Blue is in the set. So there is the Ultramarine, which is beautiful, warm blue that creates beautiful colors towards the red. But since this is cadmium, these are dull varieties of purple, whereas I would have liked to try it with a permanent carmine, and I suspect that the ultramarine and the carmine would create a lot more vivid and bright colors. But the Prussian Blue, it just really tones the colors down, and that is not a problem in itself. But can you see the strokes of my brush in this? It is sort of a gel-like consistency that I really didn't like, and I swear I didn't know that the Schminky Prussian Blue was this gel-like. To me, Prussian Blue should be dark, intense. I use it for night skies. Well, this is a color I feel must be diluted quite a bit not to be bothered with the gel-like consistency anymore. And then I don't think it's very usable for a night sky anymore. So I didn't like that, and I was a bit sad about that, because, you know, but that's how you can see that sometimes there is in your mind, there are thoughts that you just believe because you once thought them, but then you have to try it out, and then you're like, okay, well, if I were to compose a Schminky set, I would include different yellows, and I would include a different blue that's cool and not with a gel-like consistency. Oh, and also, I found specks of pigment in the paint while it was wet on the palette, which was really, really crazy. I had to stir it quite a bit. Now, this is an unusual triad because these are the only 3 M-Graham colors I have: the Hooker's Green, the Quinacridone Red, and the Cerulean Blue. And of course, this is not a representative as compared to the others. There is no yellow here. But I have to say, I love the Cerulean Blue. I never ever use Cerulean Blue because I think usually it's kind of a dull color. But in this case, it really looks like a beautiful summer sky blue. And Cerulean should do that, in my opinion. So other than that, you know, with the green, it's sort of not really bright and vivid colors, but... Okay, moving on to another set I have. This is Talens Rembrandt, and I have a set of 36, and I chose, I don't know what the name is called, I think it's called Gamboge in English, Quinacridone Rose, and Phthalo Blue, which form a really beautiful, bright, warm circle. And I chose the cadmium yellow light, so here's the warm circle, the cooler circle, carmine, and ultramarine. And as you can see, do you see the granulation in the ultramarine? No matter how far it's diluted, you can still see the granulation here. So if you're ever looking for granulated colors, then the ultramarine by Rembrandt, which is color 506, using pigment PB29, is, I think, the go-to brand. I don't have any other brand that granulates as much as this one does, and I love it because it's a beautiful effect, and still it's very beautiful and bright in color. Then we're moving on to Jello Mission Gold. Some of you viewers were a little bit angry with me because I was not too enthusiastic about it, and that is, as I said before in my reviews, the flow in Jello is a little bit off compared to the paints that I've always worked with. Other than that, I have to say that the color chart I made back then still is very bright and vivid. So I am kind of, how shall I say it, kind of warming up to the Jello Mission Gold. And again, when you see these triads, they're very, very bright. Even, well, this is not really a cool circle. I don't think this cobalt blue is cool, or the permanent red. It's also warm, but this is the cooler circle of the two. I love the colors in it. They are beautiful. And the same applies to the warmer circle, where I use permanent yellow light, permanent rose, and cerulean blue, which is also beautiful cerulean, but in my opinion, this is not really a cerulean. Let's see. Look, if we put the M Graham, which looks more like a cerulean to me, right next to the Magello, you can see that the Magello cerulean is actually a phthalo blue. And that, I found that to be a problem, well, a problem, you know, between brackets, because it's not really a problem. It just takes some getting used to. That with Asian brands of watercolor paint, they give names to the paint that don't, that are not the same as the Western names. So in this case, this really is a cerulean blue. But then again, you could also tell because it's PB15, 15.3, and PB15, I think, if I'm correct, is a phthalo color. So wonderful. I like it. Beautifully vivid, and I'm definitely going to work with this. One thing I want to mention is that if you work with plastic white palettes, I found that this paint stains a great deal. My palette didn't clean very well afterwards anymore, which all the other brands did, by the way. So then moving on to my last one. This is St. Petersburg White Nights. And I didn't do any other studio quality, but the St. Petersburg are, you know, they're artist quality. Not everyone agrees about that, but, you know, yeah, some of their colors are not very light fast and a little muddy sometimes, but most of their colors are very, very intense, as you can see right here. I love the colors it produces. I think especially this triad is beautifully balanced, and well, you know, this is just, I felt that this was a really beautiful mixing combination for both of the triads. So I have the full collection, and I picked the yellows and the reds and blues that I felt best fit together, and I left out the cadmium colors because I found that in mixing I don't like the cadmium colors very much. I hope this was informative to you. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it will inspire you to do your own color triads and try out the paints that you have. And the reason I did this is because I am thinking of composing a go-to set with colors, and I was thinking about how many colors I was going to need. So I looked up some information about mixing colors and which colors would be really great to mix, and that got me really interested in seeing what the colors that I already have can actually do. So yeah, I'm really happy with this, and well, if you're doing some of yours, then please share, because I'm curious to see other results as well. Thank you for watching. Bye.